Welcome back to Sportsbook Review Videos. I hope you all are enjoying the NBA All-Star break. And as we get back into NBA action later this week, it's time to take a look at some of the games that could be a little bit more prolific as we head down the stretch run of the season. And those are early afternoon games starting on the weekend. So far this season, as we examine what we've looked at so far this season in total betting, the under has been a very good play on early afternoon start games so far this season at 26, 20, and 1 for weekend early start games before 6 p.m. Eastern Time. As I mentioned in the ATS article and video series, if you add in the Christmas Day and Martin Luther King Jr. Day games, however, the under gets a lot better. In fact, the under was 5-0 on Christmas Day. It was 4-2 in the early start games before 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. That means that this season so far, in games that started before 6 p.m. Eastern, the under is 31, 22, and 1, which is an insanely good 58% cash success rate. With early afternoon games on ABC upcoming here later this season, it's going to be hopefully an even better wager. And in fact, if you can take advantage of that heading down the stretch run, as we did last season around this time, the under is going to, I think, continue to be a pretty good wager, despite the fact that last season the over definitely evened up as we got down the stretch run of the season with teams tanking, playing early afternoon games. But in games that matter in the early afternoon games, the under has definitely been the play. And if you date back to last season, another big factor in coming off of the All-Star break is teams cashing the under as well, especially Eastern Conference teams. Now, during the immediate week after the All-Star break last season, there wasn't a huge run of unders being the play. However, once teams got a few games under their belt and the rest of the All-Star break started to wear off, the under started to be once again a very good wager, especially amongst Eastern Conference games, or at least games where the Eastern Conference team was the home game. Starting the week after the All-Star break ended, so that Friday, the week after games started back, the under was an amazing 12-2 in the 14 Eastern Conference games where the Eastern Conference team was the home game the weekends after the All-Star break, and the under was also 6-3-1 during regulation of those weekend games, those early afternoon weekend games that we've been talking about in late February, early March. So I think we could continue to see that trend, and one of the big distinctions I think we have to make is between teams of fast pace and teams of slow pace now coming off the rest of the All-Star break. And immediately after, we could use this formula to potentially cash some winning wagers. So if you look at the teams this season who have been very, very good on 2, 3, or even 4 days rest, a lot of them that cash the over are faster pace teams. In fact, 4 of the 7 fastest pace teams this season, including the Warriors, Rockets, Suns, and Wizards. You combine those 4 teams on 2 to 3 days rest this season, the over is an amazing 38-1 this season when those teams are coming off of rest. It seems like the faster paced teams, when they're coming off of rest, they tend to cash the over, whereas slower paced teams, and while that doesn't exactly correlate exactly, look at the Kings or the Thunder's record on lots of rest, they tend to cash the under. But when you look at teams of slower pace, for instance, Memphis, Miami, and Cleveland are 3 of the 4 slowest paced teams in the NBA this season outside of Utah. Those 3 teams are 16-8 cashing the under on 2 to 3 days rest this season. If we use that formula potentially to help us handicap some of these games early after the All-Star break when these teams are coming off of lots of rest, I think it could lead to some very profitable total wagers here for the second half of the NBA season. That'll do it for me this time. Like I said, make sure you check out my betting teams against the spread article video series on early afternoon starts as well. But until then, for Sportsbook Review, I'm Jordan Sharp.